So today we're going to be focusing on everyday miracles is what I'm calling them. And you'll see in my sample page that I brought today, I have a pear, and there's a reason for my pear. A few years back, I was reading a book called Beatrice and Virgil, and I cannot even remember the name of the author. And to be honest with you, I can't remember most of the storyline. To the best of my memory, Beatrice and Virgil are a donkey and a horse. So the storyline is sort of following this donkey and horse. What I do remember, it was a nice thick book, right? The piece that I remember was when Beatrice tells Virgil, man, I wish I had a pear right now. And Virgil looks at Beatrice and says, what's a pear? What's a pear? And so Beatrice goes on to describe a pear in like 2 to 3 pages with the richest description of a pear that I have ever read. And as I was reading it, all I could think was, man, I want a pear. She was describing, that first bite, that crunch into the flesh and what that feels like on the tooth. And then the softness of the inside. And then the color of the inside, like describing it like this luminous, translucent, white, but not white, but almost as though it's light itself captured in the flesh. And I'm getting chills just remembering this description. And it's a pear. It's a pear. How often do we take pears for granted? Well, I will tell you that moment for me, reading that description with such detail, but it was not just the detail, it was the sense of gratitude and awe about a pear, that I've never been able to eat a pear without thinking about that description. And so every time now that I eat a pear, I'm like, ooh, is this one like juicier than the last one? And really looking at the color inside and noticing that texture, and Beatrice tries to explain to Virgil, it's like an apple, but it's not at all like an apple. It's like trying to compare 2 different things, but how do you describe something to someone who's never experienced it? And what it got me thinking about, aside from the fact that now I absolutely love pears and I love the experience of eating a pear, because it's not just that moment that I take for granted. It's not an experience that I just like breeze through anymore. But what if we were to do that with everything in our lives? All the things that we take, as like just mundane daily activities. The things that we walk by in our house that are there all the time and we just take them for granted. But what if we were sort of like Virgil was, dropped into the experience of something for the first time? What if you've never experienced anything in your home before? Just close your eyes a moment, right where you are. Just close your eyes. And imagine that you are from a distant place and a distant time. And as you open your eyes, you are seeing everything around you for the first time. Go ahead and open them and just take a look around. Do you have electricity burning? Isn't that a miracle? Are you in an enclosed space, safe and protected from the elements? What a miracle. Are you looking at a computer screen, sharing this experience with people literally around the world? What a miracle. What did you have for breakfast today? Where was it sourced? From the earth, from a farm, to the farmer's hand, traveling many, many miles to get to you? Did you go out in your backyard and pick your own breakfast from the garden. What a miracle. When we take the time to look at all of life from that sense of awe, we can see it all as a miracle. And when we do, our sense of gratitude expands. Our heart expands from that place. And I promise you, whatever you focus on today is your focus, your point of gratitude, and expanding into that, your relationship with it is going to change. And this is one day, one practice as we continue to practice this level of gratitude. You know, imagine beginning every meal with that sense of awe before you even take a bite. And as you take a bite, noticing it as though noticing it for the first time. So today in your journal, what I'm going to invite you to do is to choose something from your everyday life, something that is visible to you in your space or something from your morning experience, and to take the time to really delve into it. Now, I'm going to be, again, demonstrating this using my pear drawing. So the first thing that I did was to sketch out the pear and sketch out the tree. Now, for those of you who might be thinking, but I don't enjoy drawing or I don't feel comfortable drawing, it's okay. I want to give you permission right away. And I want to let you know that I took a little tip from our friend Cindy, who's on with us today. So Cindy, thank you for this one. I drew this pear and the tree with my non-dominant hand, right? I'm right-handed, so I drew this with my left hand, because when we do that, again, we get out of that sense of it has to be perfect. And we just allow ourselves to just be present with what is. So in this instance, the pear was an actual physical thing. I had the pear in front of me, and using my left hand, I just kind of quickly sketched the outline of the pear. Then I went in just because I felt called to, and I kind of scribble sketched this tree lightly in. And then I decided, well, you know, my pear might want a little bit of shadow. And the reason why I was creating different pockets, different areas of form is because I wanted to use those to then write in about my gratitude experience with the prayer. Or with the pear. It's a pear prayer. So it gave me space to have some different forms to work with. So I wasn't worried about shading in the pear or adding a lot of details at that point, just the outline of the pear. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a picture of what this looked like before I colored it in, because I know so often it's hard to see, you know, to visualize in your mind, well, what did that look like? So here's the pear without all of the color. So what I did was first just observe what's in my world and decide what I want to choose to focus on. And of course, my love of Beatrice and Virgil's description of the pear, as I was looking around my house, is what caught my eye. Then to choose to focus on that, focus on it with the eye, and to sketch it out, not perfectly, just capturing the image of it. Look at all those bumps and jiggles going on in that pear. It's not perfect, but it caught the essence of pear for me. And then I moved into free write, which was literally just whatever was on my mind about the pear. So I started with, I am grateful for this fruit, and just let those words continue. You can see that sort of spiral around the center of the pear where I was writing, and then letting that expand into the shadow, up the tree. And then I moved into the adding color piece. So I really sat with the idea of pear and my pear prayer of gratitude for a long while before I added the color. Now my thought process moved from the pear itself, the experience of the pear. I'm gonna keep doing that. But then it moved to the gratitude for where it came from, right? So then I started thinking about the tree that it grew on and who grew it, where did it come from? And thanking in my mind as I was writing all of the people that were involved in that. And then thinking about the process and writing about the process of the fact that this tree itself came from a seed. So like thinking about the whole miracle aspect of nature. So it just allowed me to just really dig into where did it come from and look at every bit of this pear as a miracle. And when we do this, again, whether you're looking at the fact that you're able to participate in this program using the computer, or you're looking at something in your environment. I'm looking at Lesta Sue's room from my space and her studio space, right? That the fact that you have this beautiful studio space to be in, or electric lights, or drinking your tea, your coffee, whatever it is that's really capturing your attention this morning, just allow yourself to write into that, to focus on that as though it is a miracle. Notice all those little details. And then once I've completed that part of it, I went in with watercolor paints. Now, I use these watercolor paints. These are like school grade. In fact, they were donated to us by an elementary school art teacher who had too many in her classroom. So they're literally school grade watercolors, so you don't need to have fancy art supplies to do this. And I just dip my paintbrush in the water, dip it in the color, and then loosely just kind of scribble paint, if you will, into the space. I did pay a little bit of attention to light and shadow just to give it a little bit of form, but you could definitely just block yours in with solid color. That's fine too. The idea with the watercolor is then the pen still shows up underneath. If we use acrylic paint, which we do a lot for our layering, then we tend to hide it. But since this is something we might want to remember our gratitude for this moment, I invite you to use something that's a little bit transparent today. So that's going to be our process. And before we move into it, we will have a moment of meditation so that we can really sink into the idea, so that when you open your eyes from that meditation, then you're also seeing the world as though dropped into that space for the first time. So I invite you to take a moment and just get comfortable wherever you are, whether you're seated or laying down, to close your outer eyes if that feels comfortable, or to find a focal point, something to concentrate your vision on if you'd like to keep your eyes open. Taking a couple of deep breaths, we bring our awareness to this now moment. We bring our awareness to the gratitude of the heart that sees with divine love, the heart that witnesses the miracle of life. And we simply take a moment now to breathe into this awareness, breathe into this deep heart space for a moment of silence. And on the next breath, begin to bring our awareness back to our mind and our thoughts, back to our body, back to breath. And as we open our eyes, we say in advance, Thank you, universe. Thank you, spirit. Thank you, divine love, for all of the gifts, all of the miracles, all of the blessings in our lives. And so it is. So for our announcements today, I just wanted to let you know that the recordings of today's program will be available online, usually by 7 o'clock on Monday evenings, Central Time. And you can find them on our YouTube channel. We're under Unity Arts Ministry. We have a Facebook page, and our website is unityartsministry.org. We also have a Facebook group if you'd like to share in our private group what your final page came out like today, or share tips and ideas with each other. You're welcome to join us. We're at Creative Spirit Art Journals. And I also invite you to feel free to share your pages on social media and tag us at Unity Arts Ministry so we can see what you share. I want to thank you in advance for supporting this program. I have on the side here a quote from somebody who shared this with me. Creative Spirit Gathering has helped me keep my sanity these last several months. And that, of course, being this time since March, when we've all been experiencing more time at home and experiencing social distancing. So I know that this program is really touching lives. And so I appreciate those of you to help support this program financially. You help to keep going.